Welcome everyone to CoCreative NoCode / Pro NoCode's Office Hours, episode number 118. I'm Tonya, your host. I'm here with my partner Pablo and our members Jay and Thomas, and Arkim. And we're going to get started in a moment here, but if this is your first time tuning into Office Hours, we do this every day of the week, Monday through Friday, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And we are soon adding some more times to that that will be friendlier for people in Europe and other time zones as well. So we're excited about that. If you happen to be watching us live on Facebook, please go ahead and comment. And if you would like to join us for a complimentary session, we can send you some credentials for that. If you happen to be watching the replay on YouTube, please go ahead and give this video a like and make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our broadcasts. All right, I think we're going to start with Jay today. So I will stop sharing and Jay can take over.
Okay. Okay, this is the same thing we talked about last week. Okay. So I've got all these filters, and some of them work, the ones that are text-based, but the ones that are numbers-based, the problem is that well, that one's working, but they're not all working. For instance, I think this one's broken. If there's not a 0 or some kind of character in the database, it doesn't work. Like the filter doesn't work. So let me show you the filters.
Can you show us how it's not working though?
Yeah, nothing happened.
Oh, nothing happened.
Show you. See, nothing. Watch. Nothing.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. So what I've done is I've got all these different filters, and here is the thing. So if I go and if I add the ones that aren't working, there's a lot of them, and I can't remember which they are right now, then the whole thing will break. And what'll happen is the repeating group won't populate at all.
Okay. So if it's not handling empty values, and then how were you constructing the filter?
Through the list filter here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but add one of them that's breaking it. Did we had this working at one point, or we never had it working?
We never had it working properly.
Okay. So there's going to be some sort of problem because you're setting it to equal.
Okay.
And your slider is going to be like looking for a range, right?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. It shouldn't be that. It's so
it should be greater than the minimum.
Yeah.
And then it should be less than the maximum.
We did have this set up this way before,
and
it didn't work.
Okay, that's fine. So let's set it up again. Shouldn't it should be greater than, not less than, right?
Oh, as you can see, it didn't work. It didn't load anything.
Got it. Okay. And you think this is related to even just one record having an empty?
Yes, because when I tried it with test data with only like 6 records, so I could keep track of it, This is what it did.
Okay. Do you have any ideas, Pablo, why that happens?
No, I was thinking like what is the light requirements list?
What do you mean? It's a list of text, full sun, comma, partial shade, whatever.
Yeah, because it's saying it has to contain both, just two items, the first and the last. Are you trying to get all in between?
There's never more than three. There's never going to be three.
Okay.
But I couldn't get it to. I didn't know how to make it choose the first two. Because what I wanted it to say was contains all of them, but it wouldn't let me do that. When I take first item off, it errors out.
Oh, because is the light requirements not a list of things?
It is a list.
What is it a list of? Is it a list of texts?
Yes.
Okay.
It might be a list of option set. It might be an option set. Pretty sure it is.
Okay. Because like the reason it's showing up empty is nothing meets all of the different requirements that you've like put in there.
Yeah, that was my thought. I would probably use the debug mode and just check in the repeating group by inspecting it, and we can probably see why it is not working.
Okay, are we talking about light requirements now or about the one that broke it?
All of it. So go back and change it back to where you had it before. Go back to the filters. And just make that red blue again.
Okay,
and then go back. No, don't get rid of that. Just go back to the the page. And then we'll is it step by step she should do, Pablo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, or the inspect one otherwise, but like
Inspect?
just
Okay.
Just inspect and see the repeating group once we're using the filter. Once it's loaded.
Okay.
It's
So
not loaded yet, right?
Well, that's the problem, is it's breaking. It's not loading anything.
But it was loading everything before, right?
It was, and we are ignoring empty constraints. So I don't understand why adding that one filter would break it.
Okay, can we find the repeating group and we see?
I can't seem to get to it.
So down where it says, where you have the stop button, we can search for it. A little bit to the right, where it says perpetual flowers and our group, yeah. So you can type repeating group, and I don't want to know what the name is, but we can look for it in the app. Is it that one?
I have to check the name of it. Repeat, yeah, that's it.
It is.
Group FF results main.
Okay, and now, and yeah, you already have it there, I think. Yep. So where it says data source in the second column, the first option, if you click, and then you click there, we should be able to see what's happening, like if the first search is giving results. So before filtering, because the search has constraints, but then we are also using the filter, or the search doesn't have constraints. I didn't see that.
Search has, yeah, the search does have some constraints.
And then you're doing some extra filtering on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if this first search is giving us results. So if you scroll a little bit up, instead of clicking in filter, if you click on search for all plants. Yep, over there. Have you clicked there?
Yeah, yes, several times. Nothing's happening.
Okay, and if we go down and see if we are getting results.
Oh, hold on, I'm getting this.
Oh, okay. Mhm. I think the one that might be breaking it is the advanced one, right? Because it says empty. I'm not sure though.
I don't even know where that's coming from.
It's at the very top of your filters.
No,
You have an
let's
advanced
check
filter
again
Oh,
in the
okay.
bubble app to see what the
in the
advanced
editor.
filter is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the editor.
Yep.
So what does that one do?
That is lets them pick the month that it blooms, the months. It's a list. It's selected from here.
Okay.
This is the custom, this is in the data type. And then this is a custom state.
Okay. Okay, and so right now it has to filter so that only the plants that contains all the months in the perpetual flowers appear, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All the
that-
selected months.
But that custom state starts empty on page load, right? So it should. Because if the constraint is based on the custom state, but the custom state is empty, and if you scroll down, I think you have it checked to ignore empty constraints. And we were still getting results when you didn't have the days to germinate minimum on there.
Correct.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah,
I
it
wanna I wanna play with it, but it's and just like try to break it, you know, see what is the exact cause. I have a feeling it might be that one, and it's always tricky to filter using the custom states because of what you said, Tonya, but I'm not sure if that's the problem. I would also have to like get a sense of how the database works. And I've been watching a few of the previous office hours, but this app has a really complex database, Jay. So I'm trying to understand how everything works. Yeah.
It's not the first time she's heard that.
No, but I mean, I don't know that it could be that much different. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that's dependent on another thing.
No, I mean, it just seems like, I mean, it's an impressive app, you know, it just seems like a very complex build.
I'm really
that's what I
happy to
meant.
hear that,
Yeah.
because I'm thrilled with it, of course, but it's what I would want if this is the app I want if as a gardener. So when I go to look at a site like, Macy's or a big department store, a big retail site, and they've got those super clean filters, everything just works. You can search for women's tops by size, by color, by brand. That's what I want this to be like. I want it to be that easy and simple. And I'd also like to be able to do a keyword search at the same time. I don't need to get from 0 to 100 on the first iteration, but I'd sure like this piece to work better. Right now, my only solution and what I'm going to do if I don't have it fixed by launch is what I did before this call and last time we spoke. I just hid the ones, I hid these pieces that weren't working, and I just took them off the filter, figuring I can add them back later. But I'd sure like them to work, or I'd like to understand why they don't.
So that was my next question. So this was working before you implemented the last two
Just this
filters.
last one. This breaks it.
Just that one. That one, okay.
No, it's not just that one, but that's the first one on this list. All the other ones on this list don't affect it. It works okay. But when I added this to show you how it breaks, there's also a days to germinate max, and then there's the bloom time, which is days to maturity, and that breaks. So those.
But that's okay. Yeah, that's really weird. Okay, let's go back to the page and see what's going on. Is it taking correctly like the minimum value? And we're gonna be able to see it.
One more piece of that, I think, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, is you said when you were just had 6, like you were just working with 6 things in your database, it was working as long as none of the inputs were empty.
Yes.
Okay. So there's
Yes.
something about the input being empty that we think is breaking the whole thing.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I think this is empty because I didn't select any. I didn't select anything there. So what I did before was went through with my 6 and put 0 in all the empty ones, and then it worked. But the data that was being returned, the results were inaccurate. I feel like that's super frustrating for a user.
Yeah, for sure.
So empty isn't making it a 0 is what's happening, basically.
Right.
And we're using min to try to get it. To try to get it to be 0. Because you can round an empty number and it will give you 0.
I don't understand, but 0 is not what I want.
Oh, okay.
What
Sorry, I jumped in a little late here.
It's okay. No, welcome. Can you, if you stop the inspect and just show him, take off that last, take off the last filter. So Justin, you might not be as familiar with Jay's database as Pablo has become by watching office hours and from the beginning. But
I'm like 20% familiar by now. So
yeah, her database is pretty complex. And then she has some excellent, very visual filters. So like just show him a couple of filters here.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she can pick by color.
And this should, I don't have this working either. This should filter down. Like if I put pink and dark pink, then both of those should show. But I don't have that yet. And then you've got blue months. And that broke. That's the advanced filter. But maybe there's nothing there like that. Let's see. Nope, didn't break. It worked okay. Okay. And then what's happening is that some of them, if I try to filter by something that is a number and that number is blank in the database, like how many days it takes to germinate, then nothing happens. And if I didn't have this loaded and I hit that to search for my initial search, then once I put that germination filter back on, the one I just took off over here, then nothing will load here.
At all, even from the beginning.
Right.
Okay. So there are some entries that are empty for germination.
Yeah, I don't have, yes. And there's always going to be, like I'm never going to have all the info for every plant. There's many plants.
Right.
But you still want those to appear.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't want the results to come up blank when you go there originally.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what I want to happen next. What I'll do is I'm going to pay someone a really low wage to go through and fill in the blanks over time. But to get started, yeah, I think that they should be ignored.
Because I think that's probably what's happening, right? It's trying to find that's not necessarily how the empty constraints things work. I think it's trying to find the values that are bigger than 0, for example, but it's not counting the empty as bigger than 0. So it's not considering it like an empty constraint in that sense. It's just filtering them out because it's thinking, hey, the value is empty, so it's not bigger than 0. Then the days of germination.
But why are the results not loading before any filters have been applied?
Probably because min is forcing a number, so it's not empty. So could you put it back for a second?
Put back the one that breaks it.
Yeah.
Or a one that breaks it. There's more than one.
Okay.
Do I have that one right? it's greater than, yes?
I think so.
I'm not really, as Tonya has heard me complain many times, math is, I get totally confused.
Yeah,
So
you want, yeah. So when they're selecting the minimum and then a maximum, you want things that are greater than the minimum and less than the maximum.
What am I? Oh, I know. It's supposed to be the slider. Sorry.
So in this case, because it's grabbing the minimum's always, that's never going to be empty. And that's why it's ignore empty constraints doesn't work on it. So what you could do is you could remove. So basically you create a conditional that has another search, the same search for it that you have, except do you mind if I take control of your screen?
Please go right ahead.
Okay.
I love it when other people drive.
All right. So request, hopefully my internet connection can take this. Okay. Click to start. Okay, here we go. All right. Okay, perfect. So what I'm saying is that, so if this slider doesn't have, like, you haven't changed anything. I think this is germination, right? This slider.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like this. So if we look at this slider here, the min value is set to 0. So that means it'll never be empty. So if we go back to the repeating group here, and then it's on an advanced filter or just a filter here?
Just a filter down at the bottom.
Okay, yeah. So it says days to germinate is greater than 0. So this will never be empty. So ignore empty constraints will never work. So basically what we need to do here, I'm just going to copy this expression and I'm going to actually, let me undo that. This is what I'm saying. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, copy this expression, come back to the filter. Now I'm going to remove that thing that breaks it. That is the one that breaks it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm going to create a conditional that says basically, yeah, when the slider's value, let's do slider. Slider germinate 1, that's it.
Yes.
Let's say value. Because it starts at 0 and 90. So when the minimum is 0, ooh, what happened there?
Oh, cat. Sorry, cat on keyboard.
Okay, that might be where your bugs are coming from.
Yeah,
Okay.
could be. I know it is.
Oh man.
I had my cat attack me in the middle of a Zoom meeting with a client the other day. It was so embarrassing.
Oh, no.
Just lends flavor.
It was funny.
All right, so we'll grab slider germinate 1. So I'm saying if the value, I've said is not 0 and, or I should say, or. So if one of the values has been changed, so if it's not the initial value, so if it's not 0 or 90, max is not 90, right? Because that's the maximum right now. So if that's not the case, then allow that filter to work. So basically now it will go through, let's look at the filter. So now it will allow that filter to do something. So how many flowers actually have a germination, days to germinate in it?
I don't know offhand.
More than one?
Yes.
Okay. So when we refresh
I would
this,
think. I'm not 100% sure. I might not have bothered too much with the data on that, knowing it didn't work, but I don't know. The answer is I don't know.
okay, we'll let this reload. It's always fun on Zoom when it takes forever.
Yeah, takes forever, yeah.
But Pablo, are you following what I'm saying, Tonya?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
makes a lot of sense.
Yep, it does.
So this is under Flower Finder.
Yes.
Okay. And then under,
Okay, it loaded.
yeah, so it's loading without it. And then when I change the germination time, it should refer to the other one. So the question becomes, why is it not pulling it in here?
Okay, that could be a data problem. I'm going to have to check that.
Yeah, let's,
It's
is the repeating group hiding?
What's that? Is the repeating group hiding? It's not supposed to be. There it
F
is.
results. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
FF results main. Okay. So then it's searching for all plants.
Mhm.
Oh, come on, come on.
You can do it, Bubble. We believe in you.
We believe.
Something else that is quite important. If you, I mean, where is the 0 and the 90 coming from? If it's not a static, the filter should probably take the value from the database or the option set. Otherwise, you'll change it and then one day it won't work like 2 months from now and you'll go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I'm
it's
not sure if
hard-coded.
I understand what you said. Where's the value is coming from the data type? Is that
Like
what
the
you're saying?
0 and 90 maximum and minimum days to germinate. You know,
Yeah.
right now the slider goes from 0 to 90. Is it always going to be like this?
Always 0 to 90. Yeah.
Okay, then it's okay. Because we hard coded it, like we directly put that condition in the repeating group with the
Yes.
0 and the 90. So that's
Gotcha.
why you yeah.
Yeah. we
Yeah.
have
So
to
if I
make sure.
change it, I need to change the condition. That's what you're
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't think it's going to load.
Yeah.
Let's do a refresh on this. Whew. It's having fun today. This happens to me sometimes. Sometimes I just duplicate it and then I close the old one and then it works
Yeah.
for some reason. But that might not be the day. Okay. I don't know when it's going to load here.
Maybe never. This might be it.
I wonder if it's down right now. Okay, there we go. Woohoo. All right, Flower Finder. So before I inspect, let me just look at the, oh, I don't think it allows you to inspect a condition unless that condition is true. So let's turn that on. So change the day, group, repeating group FF main, right? Oh, inspect. Okay. All right. So no, that's
But you already
group
said
FF.
it, yeah.
Oh, FF results main. Okay. All right. So I'm going to search for I'm going to look at the filter one, not the search for all plants. Okay. So it's saying these are empty. These are empty. Days to germinate is greater than 29. So that's coming through. So the issue must be that there's none that are greater than 29.
That could be.
So let me just set this to 1, 2. Okay. Do you mind if I check the database real quick?
No, please. There might, yeah, absolutely. I just scraped, it's all plants
Okay.
is the data type.
My plant? No,
No, all plants. It's, there it is.
All
at the
Oh.
top.
Oh, all plants. Okay.
Yep.
I get it. And then
If you do the, the additional fields thing and constrain it, we might come up with nothing. This was a, there's nearly 1,000 records and we've only scraped one catalog. If they didn't include that information in the catalog, then I don't have the information yet.
okay.
Which I just
Germination.
remember, if we talked about it, I didn't think about that.
Let's say greater than 1.
Okay.
Save. Yeah, there's
No.
none in there.
Okay.
That's the reason.
All
Yeah.
right. All right. That's good to know. I need to go populate the database some and see if that works then.
Okay,
It looks
I'm
like
gonna
it's gonna.
I'm gonna give up remote control. You have control now.
Okay.
I'm gonna just do a little plug here. Speaking of scraping data, we have the founder of Cheat Layer coming on live on office hours on Friday. And my request is we're going to use your app, Jay, as an example, but the request is going to be creating GPT-3 generated JavaScript scraping into an endpoint in your Bubble app. So I'm very curious to see this happen live on office hours on Friday. So
it would be
That is
super.
amazing.
And, do you know if it does unstructured data as well as structured data?
We're gonna find out because we're gonna test because he's gonna come on and we'll throw a bunch of stuff at him. The very first thing that's really cool is because most of his scraping he sends through to Pabbly or Zapier or Integromat, and then it goes wherever you want, like Google Sheets and whatnot. But all it's doing is grabbing the webhook URL, which we can generate those from Bubble into your own database, which you take out that expensive middle piece, like you have to pay for Pabbly or Zapier or something. It doesn't cost anything to send data into your endpoints in Bubble. And once you have the cheat layer code, it's unlimited. So in terms of you scheduling it to go and scrape data and send it into that endpoint. So seems to be pretty powerful. Right now, there's the AppSumo deal selling cheat layer for $99 lifetime with one code. So
that would be amazing. If I could get it to work, then I would totally be for $100. I'm paying a guy $60 to write me to scrape a couple of sites for me this weekend because it's so having my VA do it and then we go over. We end up with so many blanks.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it'll be better results, but I'd so much rather do it, myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And if it was unstructured data that he could capture too, I could have people. I mean, that would be so much better because a lot of the catalogs, they don't, they're not all the same, but a lot of them are erratic, even inside the catalog itself. Like in the description, they might mention the germination date and others have it in a table, like the same vendor.
Same info, but okay, got it.
Yeah. So I'm having to go through with, like by hand and fill in blanks because I want good data.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna be able to answer your question of whether or not his tool will be able to do what you want it to do. But
awesome. Well, that was amazing. I mean, just the showing me that the how it was the zero, that it was thinking the zero was had to be there. I didn't quite understand I didn't get the why of it too much. Like I understood that there's a problem. Here's where the problem is. I'm going to have to go through and look at it and try to, assimilate what you just showed me about
articulating when you need to do the filters using a separate search and conditionals versus being able to add them straight into the filters. Because I've run into that problem before, but it would be good to know the rule of thumb and be able to articulate that better.
And I think also something that is a little bit confusing at first is that the ignore empty constraints is telling you to ignore empty filters, but not to ignore empty things on the database.
Yes.
So it's basically telling you if the slider is empty, then ignore it, but the slider is never empty. But it works with an input that is empty, it works with a dropdown that is empty, etc. But the database, if it is empty, it's going to consider it as a known number. So if you're filtering for something bigger or lower than a number, it might not appear. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if your if your slider initial value minimum was 0, but you put the yeah, I guess that's true. Never mind. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
The slider I didn't really want it to be 0, but I put it to 0 because I have those images that pop up based on how much you have moved the slider. And for it to be visually even and not spiky, I had to start it at 0 and then have the, what do you call it? The, I don't know, the image appear when it hit 1. I know that doesn't make sense. I've got little images that pop up. There's 3 on each side. And depending on the size of the slider, like if it's 0 to 90, then there's one from 0 to 50 on one, or from 0 to 40 on one side and from 50 to 90 on the other. So they had to be a certain way to make them appear in a smooth fashion. As
Still, I
opposed to
think,
having
yeah,
see them pop up. Yeah.
yeah. I think it wouldn't work with zero. So no worries. Like,
Yeah.
I think you would still have the same problem. Yeah.
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 You would need to populate the database.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome. Thank you, you guys. I really appreciate it. All of you, not just the guys.
Yeah, thanks.
It was Justin to the rescue. It was Justin.
I know that a lot of people don't, but I treat guys as like gender neutral. So I'm
Yeah.
fine being one of the guys. It's no problem. Thomas, are you ready? You said you might have to do some more research, but
Yeah, so I ended up doing it. And so my question is for Pablo and Justin, have you guys worked with creating plugins at all? Just using JavaScript?
Yeah, I have. Pablo, have you?
Yeah. So I mean, I've only created one, but it was a complex one. So yeah.
Yeah. So right now I'm trying to work on MeiliSearch, which is like a search engine. It's essentially Algolia for free. It's open source. And I want to turn it into a plugin. But I'm having a hard time really, just as I have no experience with SDKs, it's all very confusing. So I was wondering if you guys could give me some guidance just based off the documentation.
Ooh, MeiliSearch, hey?
Yeah. There's a MEILI search, one word.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
MeiliSearch.
Research. Yep.
Okay.
Here we are.
So we want to change. Basically, this is an API, right?
Yep.
And you want to provide a plugin to hopefully sell on the plugin store one day, assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. So for something like this, you would jump right into the documentation, and they should have a lot of like curl statements or stuff.
Yep.
And then you're just going to build that within the API connector. Now, some things will require actions to trigger them, like database actions, and some will require like elements and events. And so knowing which one to use in which case can be tricky, and it takes some trial and error. Pablo, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, have you tried to? I mean, have you started developing the plugin on Bubble, or is it just a question to know where to get started?
I did.
Just to go.
I have a MeiliSearch a server installed on AWS. I got as far as the web scraping, which is the next thing you do, and really got confused. I don't understand how to get there. Have you got that far, Thomas?
No, honestly, it's just me reading documentation, trying to understand where to go.
do you have something to show, Jay? Or
Well, I mean, I just have the AWS server set up, but maybe let me see if I can open it.
I was seeing that, at least for the JavaScript implementation, using NPM or Yarn. Now, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just have to read through this and figure it out. Do you guys have any suggestions as someone who is absolutely illiterate with JavaScript, like how I can kind of base my education here?
So I just sent a link to a course that I did a few months ago, and it's about an hour or an hour and a half, and it's just I think it's really good. I always recommend it because it shows you like the basics of how to develop the plugin in Bubble, and if you're familiar with JavaScript, like it's not going to teach you JavaScript. It's just going to teach you how to use it inside the Bubble plugin editor. And then my recommendation would just like to start playing with the editor and trying to do a small stuff, looking at the documentation of MeiliSearch. And I think you'll get familiarized with it very quickly. But the course is really helpful. Really helpful.
Yeah, I took the exact same course actually. It was super helpful. Whenever you see NPM and it tells you like how to install it and things like that, you can ignore that for Bubble. You are looking at just connecting to the API. If they have an SDK, you can just upload the file through the actually in the plugin. You can just connect the file through that. But anytime it mentions npm, that's not really relevant. You do code in node.js, but you're not installing anything using npm.
You just bypass all that and focus on API connections.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Have either?
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask if either of you have done anything also with Mateo's plugin course with Superbuild.
We haven't.
I bought it, but I haven't gone through.
You haven't done anything with it. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Not yet. No. I mean, I found everything that I needed in this other course. So although I'm pretty sure that the Mateo's course is really good, but I just went straight into building the plugin and got it working. So yeah. Sure. And there is one section focused on the API calls and responses inside the plugin editor in the course. So yeah, I mean, depending on how easy you find the previous sections, you could just like jump straight into that one.
Yeah, I might just do that one just for the sake of speed.
Just heads up that the Copilot one is a few years old now. So there are some new features in the plugin developing that aren't mentioned in there. They said that they were going to update it, but they still haven't yet.
Gotcha.
It can take them a while.
Yeah.
So this is the scraping section once you have it installed, and I've got it installed over here. This was really pretty easy. It took me maybe 20 minutes not knowing what I'm doing. So I thought they did a really great job with the documentation. But then you get to here, and I mean, I think this would be really simple if you were dealing with not no code. You know, you could copy and paste this, but it looks like what they want you to do is put, and I asked on the bubble forum, the company's bubble forum, and want someone from MeiliSearch, or however you pronounce it, we're all pronouncing it different. My question was about the UIDs, and he answered it, but then I still was stuck. So evidently,
yeah, I found him. in the MeiliSearch Slack group. He's actually like the head of product development. Apparently, like one of the new guys, something like that.
Are you in their Slack group?
Yeah, I just joined. I was thinking about reaching out directly to him and asking what I just asked Pablo and Justin. But you guys gave me some pretty good pointers. I'm going to try that out first. He seems really friendly and very encouraging. So I wouldn't be afraid to ask him. I was thinking about asking him directly, but. Yeah.
So would you create this in the API connector, or is this something else?
I feel like you're downloading it on your computer, right?
But then it ends up on my computer. Like, why do I, do I want it there?
That's why I was wondering. I was like, all right, I'm probably not going to have to use a command line to connect a bubble.
This seems like it should go on the MeiliSearch server that's set up on AWS. Doesn't that make more sense?
I would have to dig through a little bit more to see.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would typically do? Like, would you typically put a script on your AWS to work with? What's that?
It's probably a little complicated because it's so like specific.
Yeah, I personally don't know. I'm reading the documentation right now to see.
No pressure. Just answer questions while you read.
Okay, so you're running a search. Okay, you're scraping your content. Yeah, you have to set your config file on your within your AWS server, and then you run the scraper using the pip env command.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's done on the AWS server.
Okay. I think maybe it's time for a Udemy course on AWS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot you
I don't know how
can do
to
there.
do that. It was one thing to install something, and it was, that was all pretty straightforward. But when we're starting to talk about changing files, I don't really know what to do about that. All right.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Juan.
Hey, Juan.
How are you?
I think everybody has their
Hello.
camera off, so we're all staring at you now.
He's like, not for long.
Now it's Pablo's turn.
Hello
I
again.
can turn on my camera. I don't
Long
mind.
time no see, Juan. How are you, man?
Fine, thank you. Nice to see you here. I'm very happy. Like, yeah, this is being bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. Any other questions from Jay or Thomas or Juan?
Well, if no one else has anything, I have more.
Good. Give us more.
Okay, let me come back to share again. This is
I'll be right back.
Yep.
so what I'm trying to do, Tonya knows this, is if you have a certain type of plant, let's say you have a hydrangea, and you've told Garden Brain that you have that, and the Garden Brain also knows where you're located. Therefore, we know when your first and last frost is. That matters. And then if you have this certain plant, let's say it's a hydrangea, and let's say that it needs to, the best time of year to prune it is 6 weeks before last frost, so late winter. Then I want those users who have a hydrangea in this certain zone or that zone, whichever, to get an automated reminder. I'd like that to be a pop-up or a floating group, something on the app initially, and later it'll probably be a notification or a text message. But for now, I just want to understand better how to structure this. I got a little further. Tonya helped me the other day, and we worked on this. And this was about, as I'm a little befuddled, I won't lie, that this, I believe, is supposed to be changing the date, Tonya, so that every year it updates, but we also melded some other things into it. So what I'm trying to do right now is understand how to tell this workflow to look for this user. And that's why I'm partly confused, because if this is changing the date only, then
So I think what we decided is it's going to be the exact same moment for every user. Therefore, instead of sending a single user into the workflow, we need to make it recursive and send the list of users. That way we don't overwhelm Bubble's capacity.
Yeah.
Like trying to trigger 5,000 whatevers at the same exact moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do need to figure out how we're going to compile that list. And my guess is every time, because this is going to be where I was confused was if it was like, I guess it's when they create a My Plant is when they qualify or disqualify for a particular list, right?
Yes.
And so, but they only need to be, well, they maybe only need to be on the list once, right? Like if they have 10 plants that all belong on this list, they still only need, we don't want to give them 10 different notifications.
Right. If they have 10
only
of the
one.
same exact kind of hydrangea, which a lot of people would, they don't need 10 messages. They just need one.
So every time we add a My Plant or delete or remove or archive a My Plant, we just need the conditions to check if they're if they should be on the list, make sure they're on the list. If that removes a plant from the list, do they have more that belong, or should we remove them from that list? And then we still need to schedule that particular list. But we're talking about, when you're talking about the last frost, per zone, if you have 15 zones, we're only talking about sending a list of 15 zones into an API workflow to then schedule the next years. But we have to update the years too, because after we send out the notifications, it needs to happen again the following year. So we need to update the dates. So
if you don't mind, can we break this down into chunks? Can I kind of
Yes.
tell you what I think I need to do, but
Sure.
I'm not sure. So first of all, I need to have the users and I need to know who's got what plans. That's fine, that's handled.
Right.
Then I need to also have in a data type, I need to store the system messages that we're going to send to them.
Okay.
Is that right?
Like it's an alert, right? Like a notification. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then I need to, in a backend API, I've got more than one thing that has to happen. One thing that has to happen is the date has to get updated every year so that it, so that they get the same message 12 months apart. And the other thing that has to happen is that the backend workflow has to identify who needs to get this alert and then send it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it? Is it 4 chunks?
Yep. And sending the alert just for Justin and Pablo to understand, sending an alert is just creating an alert thing. Right now, we're not talking about sending an email or sending an SMS. We're just talking about creating a thing, and then we'll have like an alerts thing that just searches for existing alerts that haven't been dismissed. So,
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And what was the first step again?
The first step was knowing that the user has a certain type of plan, a relevant plan.
And where that user lives, which is the zone.
Yes. So I've got the user data type storing their zone or their frost dates. And then I've got a my plants list that tells you what the user's plants are, plants per user. And then I've got an all plants data type, which is information about a particular plants. So we know that a hydrangea needs to get a certain type of hydrangea needs to get pruned, let's say April 15th. And then my plants is a list of users who have that plant. And then users is users, and that's their zone. So there's a lot of data types involved.
Okay, I think I more or less get it.
And you're doing better than me. I think I less get it sometimes.
I will leave you.
It just seems
Meanwhile,
like it just seems
Hi,
like
Juan.
a lot of
Thank you.
reminders.
Bye bye.
What was
I
your
was
question,
gonna-
Pablo?
No, I was just saying that it just seems like a lot of reminders, like a lot of things being created.
Yeah, it does. But for any given user on any given day, it's not a lot, but over time, that's a lot of things being created for sure.
So I mentioned like every time a plant is added, you check where the user lives, and then you create the next reminders, or something like this.
I was thinking, I mean, maybe that's how it should work. The way I thought it would work is that on certain times of the year, like 6 weeks before every last frost in the database, like 6 weeks before that the back end should go, hey, today's 6 weeks before last frost. Let me go look and see, the alerts have to go out. Who do they go to and what are they about? That's how I thought it would work.
So I think that the trick here that I was running into, Pablo, because I was thinking very like along the same lines, because she's going to have more than just the last frost that she wants to remind people about. But the thing is that all of this is for people in the same zone. The last 6 weeks before the last frost is at the exact same second, right? And like if you have too many people, you don't want to trigger all of their API workflows at the same time, right? So you would rather add them to a list that's going into a recursive workflow that's starting at that time.
I understand. Yeah. But since you're not sending messages, but like creating things on the database, because I would understand like if you need to schedule the workflow, right? And to happen like 6 months from now, for example, and you don't want to have like 10,000 workflows that are going out the same day. But if you're creating just like that data type in the database, like the alert message or the alert thing, you could do that every time a plant is added, right?
Do you mean every time a plant is
I don't know,
added?
like maybe, I mean, as I said, like it's the first time that I'm like hearing this, so I might be a little bit confused. But if you just want to create like, I'm imagining a set of alerts that tell the user you need to do this with the plants, and they are gonna have like a date associated, right? But you already know like where the user lives, you already know what the plant type is. So I don't know.
I guess
think
that's true, because you could create the thing and then put the date on it, and then the search for the alerts could just be based on the date. And then when you click a dismiss button, it could change the date of that thing to being current date and time, or the original date and time plus 1 year, if it's like an annual alert.
And then what I would do is like every day you just check for the plants that have like a date that is this exact same day, and they maybe or like the day before, and then just like add a year to the date, right? So that the alert message has the new date a year from now. I don't know if I'm explaining myself. This
No,
is
I
like a
understand.
real tongue
So
twister.
like when they sign up and we know that they're, let's say where I live in Baltimore, then we know that last frost is going to be May 15th. And we know 6 weeks before that is April 1st. So when they sign up and they put in their zone, that there could be a little workflow that would assign the date of April 1st to their user type or to their My Plants type. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. But we would capture that then. Is that what you're saying? Like when they add a plant, not when they sign up.
Yeah, and how do the alerts exactly work? Because
They don't work yet. They don't work yet. Right now, what happens
how are they supposed to work?
when you log in, a pop-up interferes with the index screen and it shows you your reminders. And that would be your pruning reminders, as well as there's also user generated reminders. Like if you said to yourself, I really need to mow the lawn next week, I'm going to set a reminder. So they get a list of that.
Okay.
Later, I'd like it to be either texted to them or pop up on their phone after I convert this to a PWA, but I'm not worried about that yet.
Okay. And I'm guessing like the pruning reminders are based on the frost date and based on the plant,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Then I think I would do it this way. Like I would, when you add a plant, you know which type it is. So you know it has to be pruned maybe like, I don't know, 6 weeks. I don't know anything about plants, but maybe like 6 weeks before the frost date. Then you can just like take the frost date for that user and then just like create the associated reminders to that plant, right? And then whenever a plant is created, if it's of the same type, you don't do anything because you've already done it once. And I'm getting, but if it's a different type, then you create a new reminder. But I don't know how you had it set up. Like maybe how you had it set up makes more sense. That's how I would have done it.
The only reason I thought about doing it that way because it seems more straightforward. There's two things I'm concerned about with it. One is that then I'm asking Bubble to check what I hope to be a large database a lot, as opposed to telling Bubble a few times a year, check a lot. That's kind of what I was thinking of why it should be automated in the back end. That's one thing. And what was the other? I don't remember the other reason I was concerned, but that was the main one.
I don't know. What do you think, Tonya? You have more context here.
I mean, I don't think it's a big. I think if we run into problems asking Bubble to check a large database, then we could solve it from there. So. I think every time I come back to your database, I wonder about backendless. It's like, could we do this cooler in backendless?
Every time you mention backendless, I think, why didn't I know about that? In April when
I didn't know about it until
I didn't know you in April.
June, right? June or July.
I'd already done so much. I didn't really want to go back and redo it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, but yeah, that's something for the future, not for right now. But like just thinking in terms of, yeah, what we're doing in backend list right now for this app, Pablo and Justin, I'm working on an app and we're putting the database in backend list instead of bubble. And the reason is because backend list is so much more flexible for things like
Nice.
this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I might be missing a lot of context here. Maybe what is the, I think I missed the problem. What's the problem here?
We want to remind users like when they log in, we want them to have a set of reminders for their gardens. If those reminders apply. And in this particular use case example that we're using is 6 weeks before the last frost is when you need to start preparing for like doing a lot of things to prepare your garden. So we want to send, like, we want if a person logs in between that, like the first time they log in within 6 weeks of that date, we want them to have a reminder to go and prepare their garden for a particular plant that they have listed.
So when you add something to your garden, then you would schedule the API workflow for last frost and any of the other alerts, right?
I actually like Pablo's idea even better, is like when you add the plant, any of like each all plant can have a set of reminders, and then reminders could possibly be a separate thing in your database. And so when you add an all plant to your my plant, it just goes ahead and it creates all of the reminders with the date on it. And then your notification icon or whatever in the app just searches for all of your notifications where the date is less than today.
That is exactly what I wanted to explain, but you did it better.
So, and then
that works great.
In the reminders data type, there could be a list of all, like a lot of plants need to get pruned after they bloom about the same time of year, 6 weeks before last frost. So that there could be a list in that reminders data type of those particular plants, which would be manageable.
Yeah. And then your frequency of how often you need to remind them needs to be built into that reminder thing in the database, or maybe in an option set, but probably in the database. I'm getting worried about your option sets, honestly.
Yeah.
But then when they click the dismiss button is when you change the date based on that frequency. So it would be the existing reminder date plus however many days, based on how often you need to remind them of it. So like if it's annually, it would be 365 days. If it's like monthly, it would be every 30 days, something like that.
So when somebody, let's say, added a certain plant, like a hydrangea, to their my plants data type, then at that point there would be a little workflow that would say, that would, you know, notice that this user is in this zone, their last frost date is whatever, here's the date. And then I could do the date math right there. And then put that in their data type. Okay.
And I think I would use like a database trigger so that you can do it in the back end over there.
Yep.
Are you on your production plan?
Yeah. I know. I'm one person. I'm on the lowest level paid.
Oh, okay. You only get data triggers in
no, she's got some over there, right?
Well, yeah, I do.
Yep.
You have a data trigger?
Yeah, you can. I thought you could do the backend
workflows.
The thing that you can't do is you can't set recurring events less than a month until you go to the not the professional, but the production plan.
I'm confused. Maybe we're confusing here. So if you click here to add a backend workflow, the very bottom, are we referring to the same thing? Like under
new database trigger event?
Oh, it's letting me.
Yep.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, 2 issues. Are those the issues because you didn't fill it in? Last time I tried this, it did not allow.
Oh, they might have changed the plans, and so maybe on newer plans, it doesn't. But my understanding was for the only limitation on a professional plan, like personal plan, is that you can't schedule recurring events less than 1 month apart. Which I think it's right.
Yeah.
I think, and I call that I've often said that's an ignorance tax, because people who upgrade and pay $100 more per month to do something that recursive workflows can do.
I've always thought that, like, I don't know why they put that limitation. Like, it's so easy not to need the recurring events. You just set the recursive workflow. Yeah.
I think it's an easy way to get people to upgrade to Bubble.
Yeah.
So if you are stuck with that limitation, definitely reach out to us and sign up to become a member of Pro NoCode, which currently is called CoCreative NoCode.com, but is changing very, very soon to ProNoCode.com. And I don't know, I didn't clear this with my partners yesterday, but I was kind of like urging people, if you're watching this live, we have 2 people watching us live right now. If you're not already a paid member of CoCreative NoCode.com, the rates are going up. I don't know, they might go up today. Go right now for $49 per month and get grandfathered into all of our office hour sessions, because you will not regret it.
No, you will not regret it. What a value.
Because it's going up by twice, where it's going to be $99 per month sometime in the next few days. So while you can, go sign up. 49. Yeah.
Well, I will go start messing around with that and see if I can get further. I'll come back to you guys when I get stuck again, which, will be Monday.
Awesome.
I really appreciate that. Thanks. That makes a lot of sense to me. I understand that better, because I don't have a great comfort level with back-end workflows yet. I just, don't feel that, comfortable with them. So I think this would be good because I understand it.
Very cool.
I'm confirming that the reason that I'm not able to use those backend workflows is because I'm on the legacy plans. So they're all the new plans.
Gotcha.
That's
All the new
reason.
plans. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Thomas, did you think of anything else?
Nope.
Nope. Is there anything we want to talk about today
Mhm.
before we sign off? Justin or Pablo, do you have any bubble questions? Can I help you out?
Not today, but very soon. I'm fighting with Salesforce API, actually.
Oh, which API are you struggling with?
Salesforce. But I just started fighting with it.
Got it.
So,
You just started fighting. All right, round
Yeah.
1. Let me know how it goes.
Have you used it before? Any office
No.
hours I need to watch?
Oh, the one office hours I will say about APIs, we all really loved Cameron Wilder Booth came on maybe
Awesome.
not last Friday, but the Friday before. So I think episode let's see, we're going to 120. So 115, 110.
I have that on my list to watch. It's episode
that was
110, right?
Yeah, don't watch that one at 1.5 speed because he talks way too fast.
I have to watch that one at
Just
0.75.
Yeah, he's super fast, but he actually goes into the details of explaining what you're looking. He uses Google's OAuth and then a YouTube API, but he's actually talking about what the different things mean, not just telling you what to do, but kind of explaining where things are coming from, which I haven't seen in any other tutorials. And even my tutorials, I basically say, this is what you do. This is what you do, right? And not, this is why you do this. And this is what this means. And here's where you can go and find it in the documentation. And I just thought that was super cool. So.
Nice. Good recommendation.
Awesome. Well, I think if no one else has any questions, then we'll go ahead and end office hours for this time, but we're going to be back tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. If you'd like to join us, go ahead and send us an email at team@CoCreativeNoCode.com. Kim and I can get you some credentials for your complimentary session. And like I said, if you want to jump on the grandfathered $49 per month for access to all of our office hours, go to CoCreativeNoCode.com and sign up quick because it's going away fast. Thank you so much, Pablo and Justin, for being here. And thank you, Jay and Thomas and Juan for coming as well. And as always, thank you, Kim. We appreciate you. See you tomorrow.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye. See you soon.
Yeah.